All right. It's been a few weeks, and these guys here, actually it's time for them to get fed. I have some banana peels right over here, which is they absolutely love. So what I have here is I have a couple boxes or totes here, and then I use one of those dollies, so that will be a lot easier for me to move them in and out, because as you can see here, my area here is a freaking mess. So anyway, nothing special on this contraption here. It's just a tote box. I think this is a 27-gallon tote box, and I use a few pieces of wood here to keep the bubble wrap down. Bubble wrap will keep the moisture in, so that I'm not overwatering this, because this type of system doesn't have a weeping hole on the bottom. This is just basically enclosed, which it works. All you gotta do is make sure that you don't put a lot of water. Do not oversaturate this area, because it becomes anaerobic and it's starting to smell. As you can see, it's just damp, right? So even if I dig down, it's about wet on the bottom here in my preference. And actually I try to smell this. It's a little anaerobic, but on the top it smells earthy, like you're smelling a newspaper, you know, doesn't have a smell. So that's fine, because it's not so bad that the juices or the what do you call this, the worm bin, what do they call it, the compost tea, or whatever they call them. But see, if you can see here, it's a little wet right there on the bottom. So yes, this one is a little bit wet for my preference. And yes, it's a little anaerobic, because when you put some vegetables or anything, I think I put some, I get some fruits and peelings and stuff like that I put here a couple weeks ago. Some mango seeds here, put some mango peelings on that. I also put some what was it, watermelon. Yeah, I did put watermelon rinds on this, and that will create a lot of moisture. So you be careful when you put those rinds, like cantaloupe, watermelons, melons, stuff like that. Yeah, let me see, I got a little bit left here. Looks like cabbage or lettuce. Yeah, you gotta be very careful when you put those, because those create a lot of moisture. So when you do that, let's say you're trying to put some rinds, and I put a lot of bedding on here, shredded newspapers, to counteract that, so that it doesn't get too wet and causing some anaerobic situation here. So no big deal, it's not super wet. So what we'll do, because this is my biggest bin, I will put, let me see, we got two, I put 3. So the other 2 bins will have let me get 4. Let me put 4 over here then. Okay, I'm gonna put 4 here, or maybe 3. Yeah, I'll put 3. Okay, I'm gonna put 1 there. Cover this up. Put some here, and in here. They absolutely love that. Let me see if I have. So I'll have to shred some newspaper, and I put some in here. But look at this. Oh yeah, they're really doing their work. This is the red wigglers, so they're not as big as their A and C's, African night crawlers, or your C and C's, or Canadian night crawlers. But they do the job just fine. Yeah, they're little, but they consume food just as fast, if not faster. And out of how many species that I had here at one point. I think I have 3. So I had the Canadian night crawlers, I had the African night crawlers, and I also have the red wigglers. And out of the 3, these guys here are the hardiest, because I made a mistake one time of putting some granola, like processed granola cereal that was expired, and thinking that, you know, when I go on vacation I would put it on the top and it would be good for a few weeks that we were gone. Big mistake. Don't ever do that, because what happened is that it became really anaerobic. It has a lot of molds growing, and maybe because it had some sugar in it, I don't know, but for whatever reason I nearly wiped out all 3 colonies. So we got one right here, so it's 27. I got another one here. I believe that is about a 20-gallon tote, and that one there. So I had African night crawlers on this side, or vice versa, whatever, and a Canadian night crawlers on that side. But those are gone, and this is the only one left. Maybe I had about 50 left, 50 worms left, maybe 100. So I went to panic mode and I started harvesting them and giving them a new bedding. Luckily I saved them. Now I have probably about at least 1,000 in here. And I also propagated assimilated, I don't know what's the right word, but I took some after I've had about 500 pieces in here approximately. I put about 50 there, and I put about 50 there. Now this one's here is about at least 1,000. That one there, we'll check it out later. At least I have 1,000 in there as well. So as you know, worms are very space conscious. So if they know that it is overpopulated, they'll start to slow down. They will not reproduce as much, and because they wanted to make sure that everyone else gets enough food to go around. So that's why always have a wider space and not deeper. These types of worms, they like to dwell right on the top, so they're not like earthworms where they go everywhere. They like in the surface, like 3 to 4 inches. I mean, although I dug down last time, I had this all the way up to here, I believe up to here, because I waited about almost 2 years to harvest it. But I've seen some worms all the way down to the bottom. So don't get me wrong, there's about 10% of them that likes to go all the way down, but for the most part they're right on the top. So that's that. So let me show you guys the other bin real quick before I start covering this thing up. All right. So the same concept I have on here. Nothing fancy. I tried, you know, there's some people that has the fancy, you know, worm bins and stuff like that. Well, that's fine. Not hating. Whatever works for you, whatever floats your boat, boo-boo. There you go. So this is the same thing. It's been close. This has only been, when did they? That's just like maybe 6-7 months ago. But this thing is ready. I mean, look at this. It used to be all, you know, cocoa coir. But as you can see, excuse my language, but this thing is full of shit. But that's what it is, you know. So look at this. Look how much worms is in here, and I started with like less than 50. So these red wigglers are the hardiest, because the African night crawlers, pretty much they all disappeared, poor guys. And same thing with the Canadian night crawlers. So this one's pretty hardy, so you can, you know, make a little mistake. Well, you can make a major mistake and they still manage to survive. They also survived the drought that I forgot to water them for like almost a month. You have to be very careful. Make sure that it is damp at all times, because overfeeding them, feeding them the wrong kind, and not enough moisture is what going to kill them. So, but this is ready. This is ready to go. So I still have about a half a gallon outside that I haven't used. But this one here, I could harvest this, which is I'm going to do next week. I could harvest this, and you have to mix this with your potting soil or compost, because this is too pure. I sold 2 5-gallon buckets to this guy at one time, and he was disappointed because he only got that much for what I'm asking. I was like, I forgot to explain to him that you can just, the ones you get in the store is not pure worm castings. They mix it with topsoil or whatever soil amendments that they have. That's what you get. It's not like you're getting a full worm castings out of the store. No, you're not. You are getting maybe about 10% worm castings out of that bag. So you're paying what, $20 for worm casting that you only get 10%. Then I sold them 2 buckets full. How much was I asking from him? Like $40 or something? And this was way back in the day, and I didn't know any better. I told him I just have too much, you know. So I was like, no, I'm gonna sell it. And there's a few worms in there. I mean, you can't get them all 100%. So all you gotta do is, if you want to, if he wanted to raise those worms, all you gotta do is cut them in half, to put in 2 buckets, and cover it with newspapers, and wait a month or 2. Then you will have, you know, another 1,000, maybe 3,000 worms. So, but I don't know. He was disappointed, but whatever. So anyway, so this is that, and I'll put, let's see, put 1.5 on this, and that is that. Other than that, this is it. The same on this bucket right here. I'll show you real quick. Yeah, I used to put little labels right on here. I started in 2020. So this one's definitely, like, they consumed the crap out of it. I mean, the top layer was full of this shredded newspaper, and it's completely gone. They are starving right now, so there's no, there's not much food in here. But look at this, it's all pure worm castings now. So when you get your worm castings, you mix it with you know, you do a 1-to-3 ratio to your, you know, favorite potting soil or whatever, or your garden. So yeah, you can't you know, put this, I mean, you could do if you use this like 100% of this on a low pot, it's not going to go as far, but you only need very little, because if you have a little, let's say you do 1/3 1:3 ratio in a potting soil, the type of growth that you will get from 100% is pretty much the same. I mean, you could put too much, but the benefits of it is not going to be dramatic. You can only go a certain level that the plant or the activity that you'll get from the soil. So it's kind of like the light of speed of light, right? You can only go so fast. Once you hit that, that's it. But other than that, well, this one's, you got some pretty healthy ones in here. You got some stubby ones in here. Look at these guys. Okay. All right. Other than that, I'll put banana peels on here, mix it with some newspaper, because this one's getting a little too wet, and that'll be it. I will leave them alone for another week, and then I will harvest this next week. Thank you for tuning in, and y'all have a great afternoon, great weekend. Bye.